My name is Brandon and welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hello and welcome back to Is That More Brandon. So in today's video, I'm going to be doing a review of the first episode of series 17 of The Apprentice. So for those of you that don't know, it has just come back onto our screens about a week and a bit ago. And yeah, we've had a couple of episodes so far, so I just thought I would do my reviews about them. For those of you that don't know, it is a programme on BBC One, and it basically sees 18 potential business partners of Lord Sugar, Lord Alan Sugar, and throughout the process, at least one person gets fired every week with the different group tasks that they do. So he obviously is trying to test their confidence, their sales skills, their pitching skills, and the ability to negotiate, obviously their teamwork, leadership, so a variety of different skills that they're obviously trying to get out of the potential candidates, because obviously at the end one of them does become the business partner. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on with the review of episode 1. Now obviously we did get to see all 18 of the contestants, and in the first episode, as Lord Sugar usually does, all 18 of them in the boardroom having little questions fired at them, kind of words that they've included within their resumes or how they describe themselves. So one of the girls described herself as the Kim Kardashian, but within business or with a business. And one of the guys describes himself as the James Bond of business. You had an air hostess. A couple of the girls have their own little sweet shop. So there was a variety of different people. And like I said, from a first impression, from a first glimpse, it's quite difficult to work out who the good ones and the bad ones are until they actually start doing the tasks, and then you can see whether they actually perform or not. So for the first task, all 18 of the candidates were sent to the Caribbean island of Antigua. So basically what they had to do is put on a tourism event, so kind of like a tour, and get 16 people at a maximum to obviously get onto that tour. So I think they would probably be aiming at people like tourists, people who were already in a new country, who potentially wanted to find out more, and like I said, sell that experience to them. So for the boys team, Joe decided to put himself forward. So Joe is the guy that describes himself as kind of like the James Bond of business. He does come across quite confident, and like I said, for him to put himself as the first PM for the boys team, I think it is definitely a very brave move. And obviously he decided to go for more of a historic tour, pricing the tickets at £150, saying to the rest of the boys that he could and they could drop the price to 100 if they felt like they needed to, but obviously that was kind of like an emergency. I think at this point as well, Bradley, one of the other boys, kind of said that maybe that wasn't the right sort of price to do. I'm not sure if he suggested maybe higher or lower. I think he potentially suggested higher, or potentially lower, I'm not too sure, but I think he kind of then went on to say, well actually Joe, you're the project manager, so we're going to kind of listen to whatever you want to do. And then in terms of the girls, again, not many of the girls wanted to step forward. It was Victoria in the end who kind of said that she's kind of got experience with selling and that kind of thing, and she's obviously quite good with people because she works on an airline as an air hostess, so she put herself forward. They kind of went for a different vibe. So she priced their tickets at £135, and they wanted to have more of a fun, like exotic kind of tour, maybe on a boat, something like that, and include things like a pottery class or a sculpture class or something like that. So when it came back to the boys, they obviously went to collect their commission item. So when it came to that particular item, I think it was like the beers, so beer that had to be stored in a particular barrel, and then after so many months or years, then it could obviously be sold and drunk. So they managed to do some commission-y sort of deal there. But I think what happened is, similarly to when they were then selling the tickets earlier on in the day, people seemed to talk over each other. So when it came to the tickets, I think all the boys managed to sell all 16 of the tickets, but I think Simba tried to get a deal with a group of 3, so getting 3 tickets for £125. Obviously they were running out of time, so Mark kind of undercut his bid by saying, actually we'll give you the 3 tickets for £100 each. They obviously got a yes, and all 3 of them ended up going on to the tour, but the extra £75 could have made the difference between them losing or winning the challenge. And then I think when they then went to do the sale for the commission item, which was I think the barrel of beer, again the same kind of thing happened, but it happened this time to Simba. So I think Simba went in with a percentage, and I think someone jumped in with a different figure, so they obviously could have earned more if they would have gone with Simba's offer, but again, they were running out of time, so they quickly just overspoke against each other. So that was kind of, yeah, that was kind of where the boys' heads were at. So you had your project manager, you had your historic tour, you had people that were going to be doing the tour who maybe didn't really know about the tour. So the boys' job was to obviously give them a historical view of what happened in the Caribbean and the sorts of different things that were going on. With the girls, their commission item was something to do with ceramics or some sort of sculptures, and I think the sub-team leader at this point was Marnie. So again, before they went in to do their commission, I think they managed to sell 12 out of the 16 tickets. Marnie was the team leader, and I think right at the beginning of the discussions of the task, a couple of the girls weren't happy that they were off to go and sell tickets at the beach. I think some of them said, well, actually, if you're on holiday, you don't really want someone selling you something while you've already just paid silly money to go on holiday. And then a couple of the girls said they probably wouldn't be busy. I think Emma suggested maybe the airport or something like that, and I think one of the other girls also suggested somewhere just not the beach. And then, yeah, like I said, when it came to the commission items, Marnie, as sub-team leader, instructed Megan to go in at 33%. So I think just the fact that she instructed and didn't sort of go, well, actually, do what you can, try your best, kind of instructed, yeah, kind of put Megan under a bit of pressure. So although they wanted that 30% or 30-something percent, they actually only ended up getting 3% commission for those ceramics. So it wasn't great, but I think Megan did manage to speak up for herself quite well. And like I said, in the end, at least they got some sort of commission as opposed to nothing. And then when it came to the actual tour itself, so with the boys, it was Joe that kind of took that lead. Sahel was actually asked a few questions about the bakery. He wasn't able to answer the questions, and actually then just directed the people on the tour to go and look at the sign. It was a lot funnier in the actual show. The two girls came up to him and said, oh, do you know about da-da-da-da? And he said, oh, I'm not too sure, just have a look at the sign. So yeah, that was quite funny. And yeah, then later on in the tour, it was Joe and Gregory who were kind of talking about the more historical stuff. Again, the same sort of thing happened to Joe. He was asked a few questions, wasn't really sure what to come back with in terms of an answer, and luckily Gregory managed to save that particular tour. So he started speaking about all the different cannons. I think they ended up going to the Dockyard Museum, and he ended up speaking about potential things like that the people from the Caribbean used to be allergic to wool. So yeah, he managed to save that tour by answering all the questions Joe couldn't answer, and also managing to recite all of the information about this city or the island within 24 hours. So I think even Karen was impressed. She kind of said, yeah, Gregory definitely saved that tour because he literally gave so much information. But I think the thing was, for me, even someone like me that isn't really into history, I don't really know much about history or what life was like back then, the fact that he was able to explain everything and it was actually really interesting to listen to, I think that was really, yeah, that was a really good aspect of the tour, that it was engaging. And yeah, like I said, although I didn't really understand what they were talking about, or obviously it doesn't really affect me, but it was kind of something that happened, it was definitely a really entertaining way, the way that he explained it. And then in terms of the girls, in terms of the boat tour, Rochelle kind of led that. So she taught the others and the people on the boat themselves how to do a dance. So they did some particular dance. And I think the only kind of criticism that she got was that she was teaching them all how to dance, yet they were on a boat going through some magical views, and she kind of wasn't even talking about what they were going past or where they were going. So yeah, she kind of got a bit of stick. I don't know who from, but someone basically said, well, she was basically parading around on the boat, doing little silly dances, and she wasn't actually giving the tour what they were actually supposed to do. And then, yeah, in terms of the pottery class, I think it was Danny that kind of took charge of this. So the rest of them, like the people on the tour, it kind of reminded me a bit like Bake Off, but instead of the baking, they were just sculpture painting. They had to paint different types of fish, and then in the end, the winner got a bottle of something. So that was quite funny. Everyone seemed engaged, everyone was laughing, smiling, everything like that. And then, yeah, when it came to, obviously, the results, which is probably the most important part, the boys actually only spent, the boys actually spent £1,200, but they made a profit of £989. The girls spent a lot less, so they only spent £950, but then they also only got £487.50 profit. So half the profit of the boys, which meant the girls' team lost. The boys were sent to some magical place with, you know, fancy food and drink and things like that. And with the girls, again, Victoria was the project manager, so she was obviously brought in, and she decided to bring in both Emma and Marnie. So I think I have reasons for bringing in Emma was purely because she and one of the other girls were just complaining about the fact that they weren't able to make ticket sales on the beach, and instead of suggesting an alternative, they just were moaning. And then for Marnie, she was obviously the sub-team leader, and again, I think she was kind of in the wrong here by pushing a certain commission percentage for Megan to go and do in the sales pitch, and also the fact that she couldn't control her team of people that were technically like moaning the whole time. So they were the 3 girls that were brought in. In the end, it came down to obviously Alan Sugar, and he basically said that for Victoria and Marnie, they both were kind of in a position where potentially they could get fired, but in the end, he didn't like people that disrupted tasks. So for that reason, the first person he fired was Emma. So I think it was sad to kind of see her go, but at the same time, I completely understand why he did it. The fact that, yeah, she was kind of spending more of her time moaning rather than actually just saying, look, we're here at the beach, like we've got not the best place to sell, but at least we'll go find someone or we'll go somewhere else. She just kind of was moaning. So yeah, that was kind of the first episode. And like I said, from that first episode, it is quite clear to see some of the front runners at the moment. I think there's obviously a lot of them that are quite quiet, but I think for me, the 2 boys that stuck out the most were obviously project manager Joe and also Gregory, who kind of led that particular tour by being able to memorize all of the information within 24 hours. I think for the girls, the people that stick out, I think for me, I do like Megan. Like I said, although she was pushed into her first sales pitch, probably didn't go as great as she wanted it to go, she at least had the motivation and that oomph to be like, yeah, actually, you know what, I'll give it my best shot. And also potentially Marnie as well. So like I said, although she wasn't able to manage that particular sub-team very well, it may have just been the people on the team were the problem. But I think as the teams start mixing up, or as we start losing some of the people along the way, she may come through as a front runner. And again, she does seem to hold herself quite well, and yeah, she does manage to say things correctly and at the right times, and yeah, engaging within the particular task. And yeah, I think that's obviously why Lord Sugar kept her, because there's some sort of spark. It's similarly with Victoria. Again, I think with her, she put herself bravely as the first project manager. It's not necessarily going to go your way if you're the first losing project manager, but at least she gave it a go. And yeah, she kind of went with what she thought was a good idea for the tour. But maybe if they would have just upped their prices to what the boys' prices were, they probably could have made just as much or even more. So yeah, that is the first episode, and like I said, they're probably some of the front runners for me. That is pretty much it for the first episode of The Apprentice. If you did enjoy my review, and obviously if you did enjoy the actual show, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. I'll also be back for another review next week, so if you haven't seen episode 2, don't worry, because neither have I, and I'm gonna go watch it and do a review to it soon. And yeah, other than that, enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you are and whatever time it is, and I'll be back very, very soon with another review. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.